Myotech here in the house. We're going to talk about dry needling. We're going to provide training to understand the difference between acupuncture and dry needling. I know that in the physical therapy market there's a lot of confusion. A lot of physical therapists are using actually acupuncture needles to attempt dry needling. So we're going to arm everybody in this room and in this call with the knowledge to go out there and overcome objections and grow the market, because dry needling is a hot topic these days. A lot of clinics are doing it, and we're excited to have Myotech here with us. So I'll turn the floor to you.
Excellent. Hey guys, I'll introduce myself. My name is Paul Kaloran. I'm one of the founders and partners for Dry Needle, which is kind of the U.S. partnership or the U.S. company that brought Myotech from Australia. He's literally probably minutes away, but Carl Anderson is the president and CEO of Red Coral. Red Coral is the Australian company that's Myotech. So essentially how it kind of works with us, Carl and myself, is the yin and the yang. Is he's not a clinician, he's the product, he's the business. I am a physical therapist. I have a practice in Seattle. I've been dry needling for 6 years. I've been teaching dry needling for 4 years across the U.S. So a lot of the questions that are probably going to be brought up as far as acupuncture versus dry needling technique, how the product is specific for dry needling versus acupuncture, that's what I'm here to do. This is Carl's presentation I will typically start with, but maybe I can give some background first until he comes. So some of these slides, if it's okay, I'll skip and I'll come back to, because this is essentially going to give some background of the Australian market. The Australian market essentially acted as a test market for about 10 years before it even came over to the U.S. And he'll talk about how is the first dry needle, how dry needling, I guess the maturation and growth of the Australian market is very similar on a smaller scale to what we're going through in the U.S. right now. I was mentioning before the conference, just for context, dry needling it's a new modality done by physical therapists. Its origins go back to the 1980s. Janet Travell was a White House physician that termed dry needling, which meant she wasn't injecting point injections. There was no injectate. She used a dry needle, a hypodermic needle at that point. It's progressed from there. In 2005, there were 5 states that specifically went back to the Practice Act and added dry needling as a modality. 2005, fast forward 10 years, 2015, there's now 37 states that have added legislation, an attorney general opinion, or a board designation that is specifically allowing, again, this is PTs, to dry needle, but in 10 years, that shows you some of the growth. And I'd say even the fact that it's state legislators and lawmakers that are dealing with this, that's how quickly it's kind of hit the ground and got traction here in the U.S. market. To speak on acupuncture versus dry needling, I can speak to myself in Washington, because we are knee-deep in a turf war with acupuncturists. And probably the easiest way to introduce Myotech as an industry-specific needle is that one of the logs they're going to throw on the fire is that us as a PT, a chiropractor, physician, we're using an acupuncture needle for something other than acupuncture. We're using it for dry needling, which in a lot of states that have already gone through legislative process, they're not getting as much kickback. But in a state like Washington, it's a major factor in why clinicians are gravitating towards Myotech. So Carl typically talks about the product. Let's see if we can move towards the actual product. Let's talk about dry needling. So there are a lot of long, nerdy answers to this question. You can start foundationally. Acupuncture is not just putting a needle in the body, it's the entire practice. It's an Oriental East Asian medicine-based practice. Dry needling done by a physical therapist, chiropractic physician is, it's a neuromuscular modality, or it's a neuromusculoskeletal. Welcome, Carl.
Hi. Sorry about running over to be late.
Come on in.
Apologies, because normally we start with like the smooth Australian accent, then we dive into Wisconsin accents and and the boats and.
That's right. Hi guys.
Hi.
I'm Managing Director of Red Coral. As you already know, this is my partner, Paul. How are you, buddy?
I was thinking I want to destroy your presentation, so I don't know if you want to run through the PowerPoint first. Then a lot of the questions are acupuncture versus dry needle.
Okay. Yep. No problem. So generally, what we try and do is we'll just go through the PowerPoint presentation real quick and go over the two products that we do have in the United States at the moment, which is Myotech Dry Needle, J-type. And then from there, we'll go over to you can answer any sort of real-time questions around dry needling versus acupuncture that you can have. So I started this company 10 years ago in Australia with a vision of bringing to the market a better quality needle. So all of our product portfolio for Red Coral is manufactured with high-grade German surgical stainless steel. So I get very nervous when it's a small closed room and it's very close, big group, so excuse me. And so the idea was that we wanted to try and improve that. There was a lot of needles out there that aren't manufactured very well, and we wanted to do a better job by doing that. Around 2012, we innovated the Myotech Dry Needle. So it's the first in category dry needle. And what was different about the product is that acupuncture is designed for placement, whereas dry needling is a different modality. So they peck, they comb, they fan. And we wanted to bring out a product that was specific for that industry. We work a lot in Australia with Chinese medicine, pharmaceutical companies like Nurofen. Your brand over here might be Ibuprofen. So what our doctors now are doing, we're doing studies with Nurofen to try and reduce, chronic pain, and we're working with the drug companies to try and do that in dry needling. So our doctors now are prescribing some clients to PTs to get dry needling done rather than give them more narcotics. We also work heavily with Western medicine, so Kineticor, EIM in the US, dryneedlingcourses.com, Select Physio in Australia. We work a lot in tertiary in Australia, so universities that teach acupuncture and dry needling around the country, and so that's we work with combined medicine. Next slide, please. What is dry needling? So, Paul, have you had an opportunity to...
I was like mid.
Okay,
well, I'll hand you when you walk
over to Paul very quickly.
So I think, there's two ways to think about it. Foundationally, like I said, acupuncture is not just needles, it's entire practice. The treatment is based on your chi, your flow. There's different points. As far as a patient on the table, the difference, like clinically, technically, it's typically superficially placed static needling. I know there are other techniques, but in general terms, acupuncture is putting a superficial needle. And just for context, I guess you guys not being PTs, human tissue, you essentially have dermal tissue, subcutaneous, subdermal, then you get to fascial and muscle. For a dry needling physician, I'm treating the deeper muscular myofascial layers. So to a patient, what I hear daily is, who have had acupuncture and both, it's like, oh, you're going deeper. And it's true, I'm treating deeper, and that'll depend on body size and muscles that I'm treating, but I'm treating deeper underlying myofascial tissue. Beyond that, I'm not just placing a needle, I'm pistoning. There's a lot of research that shows that we can elicit a response by manipulating the needle, so I'm not just putting a needle and leaving it. I'm actually trying, it's a pistoning technique where I'm actually trying to elicit a response from the muscle. Or I can leave an indwelling needle and use percutaneous TENS, which is the alligator clips or the handheld units, where I can actually induce an electrified kind of a synthetic contractile response from tissue. So foundationally, I guess you could say my evaluation, my treatment, my aftercare, everything would be completely different from an acupuncture treatment. A patient will say acupuncture is a superficial treatment where there's patterns of needles set superficially. A dry needling patient would say you go deeper and get a myofascial release, like a trigger point release. It's a very effective, deeper, instrument-assisted myofascial release. Most patients know what a deep tissue massage feels like. A lot of times it's the same target. We're looking for trigger points. We're looking for tight, hypertonic, hyperirritable muscle tissue. So that's what I'm treating. And then beyond that, it's putting this within the context of my evaluation, but I'm a physical therapist where the outcome is neuromuscular re-education, corrective exercise, everything beyond that. So depending on who you're talking to, you can go into saying it's going to feel very different. I'm going deeper. It might be uncomfortable. I'm trying to look for the twitch. It's going to be achy, crampy, sore. Or I'm going to apply stim, and you're going to feel kind of a something from the muscle, a pulsing from the muscle. Or a clinician, you can get into all the other stuff. But for now, that's how you can explain to one party or the other how the treatment or the technique is different from acupuncture.
Yeah, well,
Fantastic.
Yeah, so basically one's for pain management and the other one is more of a holistic approach for colds and a lot of other symptoms. So the needle that you'll be using for the pain management will be the Myotech Dry Needle, and it really is for, it's a tool dedicated for the industry, but it's made by industry. So it was years of research with PTs of how can we change the acupuncture needle slightly to make it more in line with the methodology that we use. Innovating, educating, growing. So we innovate. At Red Coral, we own our own factory in China. A lot of, most times what happens in China is that they'll make a handle at a different location, they'll make a shaft of the needle at a different location, then they'll bring that to another location to be packaged, and they'll go and send it off to another location to get sterilised, and then it'll actually get sent out. So not all the time, but most of the time. And at Red Coral, what we do, all of our manufacturing is done under one roof. Typically, there's around 13 steps in a process for manufacturing of a acupuncture needle or a dry needle, and we have 26. The extra 10 that we have are QA. So we just want to make sure that we've always got the best. We're known for the best. We are a premium brand, so we can't have anything not premium going out the door, and we only work with high-grade German surgical stainless steel. All of our products are coated with parylene coating. For those of you that don't know, parylene is the most bioactive chemical that can be inserted into the body. So it's found in heart defibrillators and heart stents. So anything that can go into the body, say from a heart stent perspective, has a parylene coating. What this means for the product itself is it's just frictionless. It just adds a little bit of a lubricant. So when it's tapped into the skin, it goes into a low force of the muscle, I should say, a low force insertion. So we innovate at Red Coral, but we listen to our educators like Paul or Kineticor or dryneedlingcourses.com, and we find out like what does the market want. So the market over here is saying to us that we want a 6 series, which we'll be bringing out later this year, a Myotech 6 series. In Australia, for example, the tertiary institutions, they wanted a high visibility needle handle because a lot of the students are dropping the handles on the ground and they're getting stick injuries. So we've got a high vis orange handle that we apply to some of the needles for some of the tertiary institutions. So we listen very closely to our institutions and the people that we work with that instruct dry needling to find out what's the next thing, what's the latest thing that we can try and help you with. Growing. The Myotech started off in 2009. I was going back and forth to China to try and work out how can we achieve this product. It was like rocket science then. They just couldn't understand that. I just wanted to change the handle a little bit and differentiate the product. And no one had ever done it before. In 2012, we were able to get that product out to the market. We ran it through our dry needling courses in Australia for 6 months. And in 2013, we developed the product, sorry, getting nervous again. We launched the product in Australia. 2014, we brought it over with Dry Needle, and we've been in the US market for the last 2 years. Yeah, so we're now growing and we're moving into the North American region quite fast and doing that with the help of good distributors such as yourself. Premium quality. So, as I just mentioned before, we have our own factory in China. We don't outsource anything. We're all about premium quality. So from the lowest Red Coral Natural right up to the premium plus the Myotech or high-grade German surgical stainless steel. The Myotech needle is the only one that has an added technology to it, so it's the microchannel technology. It's naked to the eye, there's little grooves down the side of the needle, and that allows for a low-force insertion. So with that, plus the parylene and the high-grade German surgical stainless steel, it really is almost a pain-free experience. Yes?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that? What's the technology?
It's a microchanneling technology. So they have, it's naked to the eye, but if you put under a microscope, you'll see it's there are little grooves down the side of the needle, and that just allows for a low-force insertion when the clinician's delivering the needle to the patient.
I guess if you don't mind me jumping in.
Please.
These different innovations might not sound like much, like a German surgical stainless steel, like big deal. Parylene coating, but again, to think of it in the context of the technique, we're not just putting a needle millimeters deep through tissue. We have to penetrate through all those layers I mentioned. Fascial tension or fascial thickness can be a huge barrier when you're trying to get a needle deeper into the muscle. And beyond that, if you don't have a lubricated needle body, lubricated shaft, when you're trying to manipulate that needle in and out, you can feel the gripping of the fascial tissue. You can feel, you kind of hit little snags. And I guess not to throw specific brands under the bus, but there was an Australian study done in 2005 where they put 3 of the top acupuncture needle brands under electron microscopy. And what we'd like to picture as a perfect shaft and a perfect tip, they found all sorts of metallic residue, there's irregularities, and then even the tip was not very consistent. So that speaks to the QA process. The German surgical stainless steel is less prone to those imperfections. And then having the lubrication of the body, again, Sarin will say they have a lubricated shaft, but they have about 5 millimeters, so they have the tip lubricated, basically to get through those initial dermal subcutaneous layers. So you think of this product, the innovations might not mean much to someone who's not a clinician, but a clinician can feel the difference as far as ease of insertion, like getting the needle initially in, and then ease of twisting, manipulation, whatever you want to say. What that translates to is comfort for your patient. I mean, when I first was considering joining bringing Myotech to the U.S., I basically did like a Coke versus Pepsi trial with my patients. I say I have a new brand. I'm going to basically be switching in and out. Like if you can feel a difference on either, let me know. And obviously not unanimous, but it's predominant. Like 80 to 90% could say, was that the nicer brand? And that, as a relatively or naturally skeptical clinician, that was enough to say to me. Otherwise, I see it every weekend on a course, whether you're a level 1 novice needler. When we use the acupuncture needle brand, it gets to the point of frustration sometimes when you're treating lumbar paraspinals or a glute when they can't get a 75 or 100 millimeter needle even a centimeter deep. They're basically just bouncing right into that fascial layer. So you see it on a course. A level 1 goes right in. You come to level 2, some advanced clinicians that have been using the other brands for a while, and the feedback we constantly hear is it's a better product.
And so for us, it's the highest level of patient comfort for the patient, and that's why we deliver the products and we have such a premium brand around it. Because at the end of the day, the patients are the one lying on the table, and they don't want to have the bad experience. What's particularly good with the Myotech is because we've done as much as we can on the manufacturing end to make it as pain-free as possible. Those patients that, say, might be having a clinician that uses an acupuncture low-grade needle, comes into their first treatment, and it's already a bit of an uncomfortable treatment, and then they put in a low-grade needle and it hurts them. So this person will literally walk away from going back to getting dry needling. And there's a lot of people out there suffering from pain management. So, not suffering from pain management, but need pain management for chronic pain. So to have a product that it really is all about the client and the highest level of patient comfort, it really does make the difference in comparison with the other brands that are out there on the market. The study that Paul was talking about was an RMIT study, which is one of our universities in Melbourne, and they took 200 samples of 3 of the well-known brands that are here in the US as well, and they literally put them under the microscope. And we found that there were bars left on the needle tip, there were a residue left in the body of some of the clients that was after the study. So it really is quite real, but we're all about quality, and this is why we developed these premium products. Next slide, please, sir. So the portfolio, I'm just going to run through really quickly what we do have in the US at the moment. At the moment in the US we have the Myotech Dry Needle and the J-type. The J-type comparison US product would be Sarin. Again, ours is parallel coated all the way up, high-grade GM2 stainless steel. This product's specifically designed for the modality. We do have a premium product, we do have a natural product, and they'll be coming at a later stage. The Myotech Dry Needle really is in its own category. When people say, what's a comparison product, or what is a competitor product, there isn't one. It's the first in category product for this modality or anything to do with dry needling. In Australia, we have a lot more modalities that do dry needling. So we have chiropractors, osteos, myotherapists, dentists, doctors, a lot of vets, a lot of people can do dry needling. Over here in the US, it's mainly PT based, and there are a few other different, like nurse assistants, I think.
Chiropractors and physicians are the main ones, but the up-and-coming profession that's wanting dry needling is ATCs. There is some veterinarian equine dry needling, but in general, the market driving dry needling in the U.S. is physical therapy.
The J-type. So we've just recently introduced the J-type. It's not what we're really here to discuss today because this is a product that's already on the market. So I'll just go quickly through the features and benefits. The J-type is a molded plastic handle. The colour itself of the handle will tell you the gauge of the actual size of the needle. So if it's 0.25, it's purple. If it's 0.30, it's brown. We've just released, again, Innovating, listening to the market. Our J-types in 12 weeks will have a conductive handle. And that's because the clients or the clinicians have said to us, when they want to put the stim on, they don't want to have to put it on the shaft, they want to be able to put it on the handle. So that's something that we've just innovated and come up with, and we'll release that in the market in the next 12 weeks. One-hand aim and insert. So all of the Red Core products, bar the natural, have it at one-hand aim insert application. So what's common is that they'll have a little fixed tip or holding tab holding the shaft of the needle, and it becomes messy. But also you'll be able to do more needling more often. You can pull out the needle and tap straight in. There's no mess, there's no fuss. High-grade German surgical stainless steel, FDA approved. So these products, they can be sold anywhere in the United States, and parallel coated as well. The premium we don't have in the market yet, but that is just another high-grade acupuncture needle, Japanese style handle, but I'll just probably run through the next slide because it's not relevant at this stage. The Myotech Dry Needle. So as we discussed, the Myotech Dry Needle was made by industry for industry. We put a lot of thought into it, and we made enough differences to the grip and to all the materials that we've used to be able to call this its own product. It is now over 55% of sales of Red Coral in Australia, and we only released it in 2013. So when a dry needler says, I dry needle, pardon the pun, they really do have their own tool. So they say, if I dry needle, I now have my own tool. It's not an acupuncture needle, it's a dry needle, and it's designed by industry, for industry, and it's specific for what these guys do. And the changes are enough that if you give it to a clinician, or they use it at every Kineticore course, it screams to the PT that this is a tool that's a lot easier to use for what they're doing when they're doing their methodology. Parallel coated needle body, microchannel needle body. It's a thicker grip, so we focused on the grip, and we wanted to have the needle almost to be an extension of their fingers when they're doing the needling, and that just gives the clinician a better dexterity. So there's more of a fatter grip on the needle itself. That with the high-grade German surgical stainless steel, the parallel and microchannels makes it its own product, which is the Myotech Dry Needle. Because California is litigious with the needles, we normally try and do a product demonstration, but what we're going to do today is we're going to maybe get Paul to just put something to his forearm so he can at least show you the technique and how yeah, he did volunteer. I asked him earlier if he volunteered. So, yeah. And then what we like to do for the second half of the product training is go through the template that you gave us, just to answer any questions.
Yeah, I've done something out, but it seems like there might be quite a few questions, so maybe we jump into
questions. Okay. All right. Well, do you want to do some Q&A with Paul, all right? Guys? Oh, is it?
Gary Meyer wants to be the first one. Hey, Gary. Are you there?
I don't know if you're logged in or not.
No.
No, I'm here.
All right, perfect.
Welcome.
I've been on. I've just been listening by audio. So.
Okay.
Gary.
So there's some. We're going to move on to the FAQs. So.
I have a question. Yes. You mentioned about what's driving the North American market, PTs, ATCs, and chiropractors. Wouldn't massage therapists have anything to do with that at all as well, or?
In Australia, massage therapists can, and in the United States, they cannot.
Okay, so it's illegal.
Yeah, it's illegal. So where that heads, we don't know, but at this stage, it's predominantly PT.
Is there any talks currently going on right now to allow that, or?
Not that we know of.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
like I said, it's going to go in stages certainly, and hopefully the first stage is just that it's nationally accepted for PTs, because PT practice acts written back in the 50s, there's still states that make no mention, like it's a gray state, like you can do it, you can't do it. Like I said, there's 37 states that have remedied that and it's good to go for PTs. There are still 5 states where PTs, based on verbiage even from the 50s, like PTs can't penetrate the skin kind of thing.
Okay.
There's 5 states in the U.S. that we cannot dry needle. And like I said, Washington right now, we're right in the middle of it. We're a gray state. Our practice act doesn't say anything that we can or we can't.
Okay.
Can we get a list of that?
And where we see this heading is, in 1992 in Australia, we brought out the Skin Penetration Act, which allowed all modalities to be able to pierce the skin. And so, my intuition and my hunch is here that in the United States, I don't think we're that far away, and I think in the next 4 to 5 years, you'll have the federal government at some level step in and just put through a law across the land to say that if you are qualified, like a DPT, that you can do dry needling no matter what state you're in.
My question around education. Is there any type of Myotech seminars that we can educate the on?
So Myotech Seminars is actually another training organization that teaches dry needling. So I teach with Kineticore, which numbers-wise is the biggest. Myotech is probably number 2, but they essentially do the same thing I do. They go out to their PTs, training PTs how to dry needle. Why Myotech is a little different than us is they are strictly Travell and Simmons, like trigger point therapy, less on the neuromuscular. So it's a clinical difference, but it's the same organization structure as what Kineticore is.
To answer your question, if you guys had any opportunities or you had, say, some venues that had training rooms and you wanted Kineticore to come in and teach some of these PTs, we're more than happy to facilitate that for you. So you either be a client, hospital, that want to put, say maybe 5 to 10 or 20 of their PTs through, we can help facilitate that. All you just need to do is reach out.
That is a great thing that I think we all need to take advantage of, especially we reps. You guys have our feet on the street, so it'd be great. We'll open that communication, we'll put some parameters, and we'll send it out to everybody. We can get more education out there. The more people are educated, the more pumped up they're going to get about this modality, the more they're going to use it.
Right.
Yeah, most definitely.
That's how it's grown. I mean, every Kineticore participant in the past 2 years has used Myotech. I mean, if it's the first needle you use, it's going to be the needle you continue to use, but that's how it's grown. Even Carl and I, separate than Kineticore, we went to the Medical University of South Carolina. I mean, if it's just coming in for, a true education training course or just more like a one-day in-service, that's something that's kind of my role. That's something I can do.
And what's just interrupt quickly, how the model has worked very successfully in Australia is that we work with our distributors. So the business model is based on 90% we work with our distributors, 10% to online store. But what we actually do in Australia is we hold dry needling sessions or weekends at our distributors, and we find that the distributors that work with us in this capacity, which you will be able to with Kineticore and I Dry Needle, they get very, very good results, and they're known throughout the industry that these guys are the go-to for the good products, but also the education, and that will leverage your company.
Richard, when someone goes through a Kineticore course, how do we identify what type of...
Sorry, say that again, bud?
So someone goes through how do we certification, like how do we
follow up?
Yeah.
That would have to be a discussion with Kineticore itself because they capture all the contact information from the participants. At iDry Needle, because I'm on a majority of the course, to them on the course.
So I think what Richard is asking is, the contact list that we get from iDry Needle or USDN,
right. Yeah.
we can share that with these guys,
right.
That way they'll know who's done a
right.
course, just for that follow-up. Is that something that you're looking for? Yeah.
So it's basically a post-course list.
Yeah, but we can definitely help you out there for sure as well.
I have some questions around the TENS aspect of it. I'm getting requests on the clips to use with the needles, the TENS to use with the needles. Is there a certain waveform that you guys are using with it, certain clips, or are they just the generic TENS?
Waveform is an interesting, so the clip doesn't matter. As long as it's a conductive clip.
Okay.
There are clinicians, we don't teach it at Kineticore, that can essentially adapt the electrode TENS unit to use on a needle.
Yeah.
But otherwise, yeah, the alligator clip circuits are the handheld units that's used to conduct the stim.
You know what clip he's talking about is the clips that people use on the disposable electrodes.
Yeah.
Those clips are the ones that work.
Right.
And then it chooses the TENS unit?
Yeah, there are units made specifically for stim. And at this point, there's only one that's branded physiotherapy. The rest of them will still be an acupuncture product.
Okay, that was my next question. So I see it in the market used with the J-type.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what it's more commonly used
Yep.
with
And
right
Kyle's
now.
point was the J-type is a plastic handle, so to conduct the stim, you need to clip or stim through the shaft of the needle, like metallic
Okay.
contact. Myotech has a conductive handle. There's a few others that have a metallic handle. That's what you need to do an
Ordinary
stim.
handheld won't work with the.
There's one handheld stim unit that will, but the other one no.
Can I ask
And
a
I
question?
think-
Can I ask a question to confirm that dry needles are a Class 3 medical device?
They're a Class 2 medical device.
Okay,
So
when you, in conjunction with dry needling with TENS, is that still considered Class 2 or Class 3, the unit itself, do you know?
I don't know. Good question, actually.
I'm not sure. We don't carry, so
Yeah.
we don't have anything to do with stim.
Yeah, I don't think that it's looked at in that standpoint. So you might be using that Class 2 medical device, which is the product, the Myotech Dry Needle, and stim, I'm assuming.
I would think dry needles, being that they penetrate the surface of the skin and go into the muscle, that they would be Class 3. I'm surprised they're only Class 2.
No, they're Class 2.
Okay.
Acupuncture needles are Class 2
Yeah.
as well.
And so another objection handling that you will get is that say, well, hey, this is a Class 2 medical device on the FDA. It is listed as an acupuncture needle. So yes, it's true. It's forever and a day, all it has been is a Class 2 medical device used an acupuncture needle. So we've actually got 2 FDA consultants at the moment trying to differentiate that on the FDA. In Health Canada and the TGA in Australia, we have it recognised as a dry needle. And that really just comes down to the fact that the FDA at the moment are only recognising Class 2 medical devices as an acupuncture needle. So when you have some clients who kick back and say, well, this is just an acupuncture needle, well, it's not. And we are trying vigorously on the back end, trying to work with consultants to get that changed. And once we do that, then we'll really try and break away. The idea of the product is to try and pull away what's perceived as acupuncture from the dry needling treatment to an acupuncture treatment.
When it comes to other branded products that are in the space, you know, we've obviously, based on our agreement, we're only carrying the Myotech exclusively. But there are other brands that have entered, that are in the market, Sarin being one, and there's a few others. And some of the distributors or resellers that we're approaching, we're putting pressure on them to drop the others in favor of the Myotech, to go exclusively with Myotech, just as we have. Do you have sales? Do you have points of information to share with us where the advantages Myotech has against the competitive landscape?
Yes, we do. And so, I mean, for one, the Myotech Dry Needle being a dry needle is within itself its own unique benefit, you know. And the other brands that are on the market, so in Red Cross in Australia, we have a solution for every product, whether it be an economy through the premium plus the Myotech. And so in the United States of America at the moment, all we do have is the J-type at the moment and the Myotech Dry Needle. So to sell it to the clinician, what we try and say is that, look guys, this is a tool that was designed for you, will give you the highest level of patient comfort. It's not an acupuncture needle, so it's not designed for placement, it's actually designed for what you do. You'll have a better dexterity and a better treatment from it. But at the end of the day, the client that's lying on the bed will be getting the best treatment with the best tools that they can have from the clinician. And you'll have a price objection from some people. Some people are price sensitive. And how we break it down is we say, listen guys, generally a dry needling treatment uses between 1 and 7 needles, or sorry, 7 to 10 needles. And so for under $2 a treatment, to have the highest level of germ-residual stainless steel, a tool that's designed specifically for the modality, you can't afford this. Most clients or clinicians in Australia will charge around $80 for a consult. So when you start breaking down the numbers and saying to them, look, hey, what do you guys charge for an average consult? They might go, the customer says, okay, we'll charge $80. All right, so for that $80 that you're charging the client, do you find that it would be reasonable to use the Myotech Dry Needle when you're only using typically between 7 and 10 needles? And when they start breaking it down, they can go, oh, $1.80 for a treatment, that's pretty good. Yeah, I can do that. We can work with that. So they're kind of the main points of differentiation that I'll talk about with the Myotech. As far as the comparison product goes, I mean, you guys are welcome to start carrying that, the other products when we get them in. So at the moment, iDry Needle, we've got the J-type, we've got the Myotech. We're trying to work out what we're going to bring into next. But if you, I mean, we always say to our sales reps, lead from the front with the Myotech, and we've got samples for all you guys to go out when you see. Basically, use the Myotech, here's a little sample.
Can you
Yep.
Can you say that again? I didn't quite understand what you just said. Could you try that again? Did you just suggest that we carry the Sarin brand?
I beg your pardon?
No.
I said, could you repeat what you just said? I thought you just suggested that we carry the alternative brands.
No. What I said is, you are more than welcome to carry the rest of the Red Coral portfolio, and that
the rest of the Red Coral product line. Yes. Okay. All right. Because currently we're okay. All right.
I have a question towards that then. So some of the accounts are seeing are carrying the Sarin, right? And then asking, what do you have to cross this?
Right.
So, yeah, because my question is, we want to, of course, educate. Then we have to educate in order to introduce the Myotech, because that means these therapists are doing acupuncture, right?
And I would say, and when I talk to clinicians, I guess I take employee Carl's approach. It's you could just say, we have a J-type, it's the same thing. But what I say is, this product, it's a premium product. Like, aside from it being Innovative brand and it's made for dry needling, like, it's a premium product.
Yeah.
And then if it is just consistent, like, you can't get past that price there. You say, like, well, we do have a comparable J-type needle. But really, our emphasis, especially at iDry Needle, I mean, being clinicians, it's advocacy, and it's basically reinforcing that it's an industry-specific decision, really.
Yeah. And what will happen is too, so say you have a Mr. Customer and he's like, no, I mean, I do like the Myotech Dry Needle, but it is too expensive. We do have a comparison product. But what we'll try and say to our clients is, look, if that be the case, and sometimes it may well be, very rarely, maybe under 25% of the market will say that, we say, look, at least for the sake of the new clients that you're getting into dry needling, and the ones that are strong responders. So I'm a strong responder, which means around 20% of the market will be a strong responder. So when you put a needle in me, I'll typically jump. And it's a very uncomfortable feeling. So if you do have an objection from the client that, you're trying everything you can to educate to get them across the line of the Myotech, and they still don't want to do it, what we say to them in Australia is, well, guys, why don't you buy 3 or 4 boxes, stay on the shelf, just so when you've got a strong responder or you've got a first-time patient to the dry needling technique come in, that they can have the highest level of patient comfort, and 98% of the time it works.
Or to do their own side-by-side comparison. Because like I said, it's an easy sell. I mean, getting Myotech into their clinic when they're just looking at the lowest price they can find, that's the initial barrier. But every one that we've had, even trial a box to 3 boxes, the response has never come back negative. I mean, they can all tell it's a better product. The majority of them will appreciate it's easier for them, more comfortable for their patients. And maybe that still means they buy half Myotech, half J-type or Sarin, but it's getting the foot in the door. And I mean, people that have switched entirely to Myotech, there's never been negative feedback as far as we're spending more for this product and it's not worth it kind of thing.
So is the Myotech one, the German stainless steel, the parallel coating, and the microchannel needle, are those all specific to the Myotech?
Yes.
Not to the J-type? No,
the J-type is German stainless steel, parallel coated, does not have the microchannel technology.
Or a conductive handle. So the J-type, like electrostim or percutaneous TENS, is getting bigger and bigger, even in research. So
the conductive handle is coming, it's just been finishing on the back end. So we'll have the conductive handle, and Paul will be able to let you know when that happens as well. So,
Any other questions?
Questions, guys?
Can I get clarification on something? You're saying you're developing the Myotech with a conductive handle, but it's not yet been released. Is that what you're saying?
We've developed the J-type with a conductive handle, and that'll be released in the Australian market in 12 weeks.
Okay. Now, what does J-type, what does that mean, J-type?
J-type means it's just an standard for a molded plastic handle. So anything J-type on the manufacturing end has a code. Anything with a molded plastic handle has a J-type handle, otherwise known as a Japanese.
Oh, okay. J-type is it's for Japanese style.
The Japanese style handle, but what it does specifically means, it means a more or less a color-coded plastic handle.
Color-coded. So the color code relates to the size of the needle?
Gauge.
The gauge. And how many gauges are there? 11 or something like that?
It's like 8 or 9.
It's different than a hypodermic gauge, and I have corrected myself in recent months not to use gauge, because a hypodermic needle, the smaller the gauge, the bigger the needle. This is opposite. We talk in millimeters. The majority of the needles are 0.3 millimeter diameter. Obviously, we carry 0.25 for smaller and 0.40 up to 0.45 for 135. So
needle diameter.
I tried not to use the word gauge. It's the diameter of the needle.
Needle diameter. Got it. Got it. Now, this one we're looking at here, the J-type red coral, how is that different from the Myotech one that we have? Is it just the handle?
Yes, that's the handle. Plastic handle or one day.
Help me understand, why are there so many different varieties of these things?
Look, that's how they've developed over the years. You know, these products we're selling in the industry, and mainly acupuncture industry, and before 25 years in Australia, in we've gone one step. We started off the company by then working with dry needlers. We need to have their own product. So we develop their own product, but we do have comparison products for every product in the United States market. Depends whether or not North Coast wants to carry those.
How many different varieties are being sold in the U.S. market that are specific to physiotherapy or physical therapy currently? What is the 80% right here, the Myotech Dry Needle, the ones we're looking at? Is that 80% of the U.S. PT market right there, as far as within the line of Myotech?
Well, good question, and yet to be decided. It's still early days, and so to put it in perspective, like I said, in Australia, we pushed it out into the market in 2013, and so far we've got 55% of our sales is purely the Myotech product. The second best product after that is, I would say, with the J-type, you would have 80% of the little market share in
the J-type. So the Myotech J-type. So no?
Red coral J-type. Just red coral J-type.
And it's taking over the market there because they're doing dry needling.
What's a non-red coral J-type?
Percentage in the U.S. market, up until 3 years, there was no option to use Myotech. So obviously, Sarin was very established. I mean, these other acupuncture needle brands were the only thing available. So we're just cutting into the market now, but it would be
early days.
So let me ask you something. Is this J-type red coral product we're looking at right here, is this a acupuncture needle or a dry needle?
It's an acupuncture needle that is used by dry needlers as well.
Really? Now, why would they use this over the other, the Myotech, the regular one that we carry? Why would they use this over that one?
Well, look, this product was designed and we brought out to the market before we even had market. In Australia, we brought it out at the Siren. So the timeline was we had a premium, then we brought out the J-type, about the Siren. We did that very well. We brought in an economy product, which is the natural, so for all the Hawato equivalents. And then we took it that one step further and we innovated the Myotech Dry Needle. Now in Australia, I've got 13 distributors. My market share in Australia is around 75% of the market. Out of that 75% of the market, 55% of sales are Myotech. And that's just the way it's gone very quickly in the first 3 years since we launched it. And what you'll just find is that more education, working alongside educators and educating the clients themselves, that's what will happen. Do we want to lead with the Myotech? Yes, we do. Do you want to have a backup product for people that will be resistant or people that say, hey, listen, I really love this here and I just want to stick with it? You're able to say, well, listen, we've got our own equivalent. It's a better price, but also high-grade German surgical stainless steel, parallel coated within the industry.
This is very similar concept that we're doing with the Ionta Go 4, not to go into different. So it's a similar concept. We have the premium product, the Cadillac, which is the 2.5. If somebody has a big issue moving from Ionta patch, hey, listen, let me move you to something equivalent that is much better. So same concept.
So you're saying that the J-type is strictly a price point product as compared to the other product that we carry?
As a clinician, I'd say there's the branding difference. The Myotech is made for dry needling. The handle, the conductive handle is a big selling point. Otherwise, it's an economy product.
Okay, so one, the Myotech is a dry needle, sold as a dry needle, is a premium product. The red coral J-type, so that it's really kind of like the red coral is the brand on the other, but in this case, it's the brand. Is it the name of the product or is it the brand? Or it's J-type the name of the product?
J-type the name of the product. So red coral is the company. We have 4 different types of needles. In the US, we have the J-type needle. So with Myotech, when a clinician that does Myotech, when they hear the Myotech, got that association with this is a dry needle, this is something designed for us. So this is what we wanted to do. We can go ahead and patent it because you can change the product like that.
How much crossover? I mean, I haven't seen it too often, but are there some physical therapists in the U.S. that actually do acupuncture, or are they pretty much stay away from that, and that is like acupuncture and dry needling are 2 different worlds? Because I know the acupuncturists kind of take great offense to dry needling, and they think it's an invasion of their licensure. But that's a separate battle. I guess that's state by state. And then, so let me ask my salespeople in this room: have any of you ever had a customer request acupuncture needles from North Coast?
No.
None.
No.
For dry needling, yes.
I want a clear distinction. I want a clear distinction, Tammy. I want to distinguish between those that are requesting acupuncture needles versus those that want needles for dry needling. Have we had any customers ask for acupuncture needles? No. Okay. All right. So I think we can stick with the Myotech, just stay on course and not get too. It's good to know what these other products are, but your point earlier was that the cost of the needles is so insignificant when the benefit you get from the quality and the price and the value you're generating for the treatment itself, you shouldn't be worried about $1 or $2 on a cost of needles, right?
Correct.
I haven't had any pushback on price yet that I've noticed. Has anybody in the room experienced pushback on the pricing that we offer for Myotech as compared to what they're currently buying?
No.
Okay, we're good. Okay, carry on.
We actually sent some samples here. Are they here somewhere?
Yeah.
Like we have boxes of each size. If you guys want to see, I mean, I used to, when I first started needling, I demoed for every patient on my forearm. So I can do that. I'm not a licensed PT in California. Like I said.
So you can't poke a.
Right.
Well,
normally I poke
Well, that's it, but I've seen a demonstration that was, we've never visualized it.
Areas of the body?
Yes and no. I mean, it's body type dependent, obviously. Like when you're talking a very lean, petite body type versus the D tackle for the Seahawks. Like that's why you need longer needles. That's why. That's what will dictate which needle you use. But yeah, we have everything from a 30 millimeter, 30, 40, 50, 60, 75, 100, 135. And really the 135 wasn't, like that was, Myotech brought that.
We brought that over because some of the NFL players are bigger boys, so we need to get a longer needle. Generally 0.75 or 0.70 to 100 around your glutes. Would you say that would be correct
So
assumption?
it's the length, not the diameter.
So it's a 75 millimeter by 0.3 millimeter.
0.3. Dry needling, when we first brought out the Myotech, we only wanted to hold myofascial dry needling sizes. So they were 0.25 and 0.30 by 30, 40, 50, 70, and then we brought in the 100. Because of the modalities in Australia have changed a little bit, and we can all dry needle in Australia and in Canada, we now have 0.18 and 0.20 for the podiatrists, and some of the dentists use some of the finer gauges. Generally on a course, generally a PT in the United States, and Paul might be able to correct me, it would be a 30, 50, 30, 75, 3100. Would that
commonly
be
used?
commonly used?
I'd say the bell curve is going to be 40s, 50s, 60s, 75s, 100s. Because
Right.
even when you're using longer needles, it is in the glutes or big body types, which is going to be a smaller percentage of your. It's very clientele dependent. Like sports, I use longer needles more consistently, but chronic pain, headaches, that sort of thing, you'll be using smaller cervical needles.